says here, you can look at the front, don't tell anyone, but Android is the top secret hush-hush undercover identity of award-winning author-artist David Milgram. And he is also the illustrator of the book. So that's who I am, and some crayons and a pen and some paper and a refrigerator, and I'll tell you what, if you leave me alone for 10 minutes, I'll let you play on my phone. Oh boy, said the mouse, but just for 10 minutes, said the boy. Oh boy, said the mouse. If you give a mouse an iPhone, he's not going to ask for a cookie or a glass of milk or anything at all. In fact, he won't hear a word you say. And the little boy says, okay, applesauce, I'm all done now, and I've got a big surprise. Time to put that away. And the mouse goes tap, tap on the phone. Applesauce, he says. If he doesn't hear a word you say, he won't know you are taking him on a special trip. Isn't this the greatest surprise ever, said the little boy. And then he says, applesauce? And applesauce is still on his phone. Oh my goodness, these are the best nachos ever, said the little boy. And then they're on the roller coaster, and the little boy says, isn't this the most fun ever? Applesauce, and applesauce is going tap, tap. And he'll miss out on all the kettle corn and funnel cakes and ice cream, corn dogs, and cheese fries, and he won't even realize he's on the Kathmandu coaster. And if he doesn't realize he's on the Kathmandu coaster, he won't remember to buckle his seatbelt. And he'll probably take a little ride of his own, and he goes twisting off the roller coaster, continuing to do tap, tap, tap on the phone. And chances are, if he takes a little ride of his own, he goes boing, and then tap, tap through a window, and he's in a room and accidentally opens all the cages in the zoo. But he won't have the slightest idea what's happening. Applesauce, said the boy, and there's the mouse going tap, tap, tap still and not paying attention. And if he doesn't know what's happening, he won't watch where he's going. Look out! And the little mouse is going tap, tap, tap as he walks up an alligator. And he'll probably march right out of the wild animal amusement park. And there's the exit sign, and he's sitting on the alligator going out the exit and straight into the sea. Watch out for the... And you see him going off the cliff. The cliff. And if he falls into the sea, tap, 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 he's right now riding on a dolphin. Chances are he'll end up on some distant island. And there's dolphins in the water, and they're looking at him on the phone saying, is that Minecraft? Can I try? And he's sitting there going tap, tap, tap. So you'll have to get a boat, and you'll probably have to camp out for the night since it will be too late to paddle home. You do know that this much screen time can't be good for you, right? Then, about that time, you run out of energy. The phone battery will too. And he's like, argh! And when the battery runs out, oh no, 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 he'll totally freak. No, say it ain't so. Panic. And when he totally freaks, he'll probably beg you for a charger. Please, 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 please. And chances are, if he begs you for a charger, you'll point out that you were on a remote island without any outlets. See? Oh, yeah. Cool. He's showing him the fire that he made. And pretty soon he'll forget all about the charger. Got any graham crackers? And the iPhone that goes with it. So they fell asleep and he forgot about the iPhone. And he says to the boy, by the way, how did we get here? With no memory at all of where he had been. The end. Okay. My second book is Goldilocks and the Three Dinosaurs. And it was retold by Mo Willems, and he was also the illustrator. Once upon a time, there were three dinosaurs, Papa Dinosaur, Mama Dinosaur, and some other dinosaur who happened to be visiting from Norway. And there's a sign up that says, Home Sweet Home, Dinosaur Home. One day, for no particular reason, the three dinosaurs made up their beds, positioned their chairs just so, and cooked 3 bowls of delicious chocolate pudding at varying temperatures. Oh boy, said Papa Dinosaur in his loud, booming voice, it is finally time to leave and go to the, someplace else. He, says Mama Dinosaur. Yes, continued Mama Dinosaur. I sure hope no innocent little succulent child happens by our unlocked home while we are someplace else. By the way, succulent means a tender, juicy, moist thing that you might like to eat. Then the other dinosaur made a loud noise that sounded like a big evil laugh, but it was probably just a polite Norwegian expression. Har har, horgfisk, hoogurk. The three dinosaurs went someplace else and were definitely not hiding in the woods, waiting for an unsuspecting kid to come by. Sure enough, 5 minutes later, a poorly supervised little girl named Goldilocks came traipsing along. Just then, the forest boomed with what could have been a dinosaur yelling, "Gotcha!" But I'm pretty sure it was just the wind. The loud noise was immediately followed by another loud noise that sounded kind of like, "Be patient, Papa Dinosaur, the trap is not yet sprung." But that could have been a rock falling or a squirrel. Either way, Goldilocks was not the type of little girl who listened to anyone or anything. For example, Goldilocks never listened to the warnings about the dangers of barging into strange, enormous houses. So as soon as Goldilocks came across a strange, enormous house, she barged right in. Inside, Goldilocks immediately smelled the 3 bowls of delicious chocolate pudding. Said Goldilocks, that chocolate pudding smells delicious. If only I could get all the way up to the top of the counter. Then Goldilocks noticed a very tall ladder that just happened to be there and certainly wasn't left there on purpose. Goldilocks climbed up the ladder and found herself face to face with 3 giant bowls of chocolate pudding. The first bowl of chocolate pudding was too hot, but Goldilocks ate it all anyway because, hey, it's chocolate pudding, right? The second bowl of chocolate pudding was too cold, but who cares about temperature when you've got a big bowl of chocolate pudding? Not her. The third bowl of chocolate pudding was just right, but Goldilocks was on such a roll by now, she hardly noticed. Soon Goldilocks was stuffed like one of those delicious chocolate-filled little girl bonbons, which, by the way, are totally not the favorite things in the whole world for hungry dinosaurs. Tired and groggy, Goldilocks noticed 3 chairs in the living room. So she climbed down the ladder and walked out of the kitchen. The first chair was too tall. The second chair was too tall. But the third chair was too tall also. Goldilocks wasn't going to climb that high just to sit in some chair. So she hiked over to the bedroom. When she got there, Goldilocks noticed that the beds were also gigantically big. "What is going on around here?" groaned the exhausted girl. "The bears that live here must be nuts." Just then, the room filled with a loud, booming noise that was either a passing truck or a dinosaur gloating. A few more minutes and she'll be asleep. Delicious chocolate-filled little girl bonbons are yummier when they're rested. Even a little girl who never listens to anyone or anything had to hear that. Goldilocks took a minute to stop and think, which was longer than she was used to stopping and thinking. "Hey," she told herself, "this isn't some bear's house. This is some dinosaur's house." Say what you like about Goldilocks, but she was no fool. As quickly as she could, she ran to the back door and got out of there. Just then, a loud plane flew by, which sounded pretty much like a trio of dinosaurs yelling, "Now!" or "Charge!" or the Norwegian expression for chewy bonbon time. Suddenly and completely coincidentally, the 3 dinosaurs rushed through the front door. But they were too late. Goldilocks was gone, and all that was left in the house were 3 disappointed dinosaurs. And the moral is, if you ever find yourself in the wrong story, leave. And the moral for dinosaurs is, lock the back door. The end. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Donna Fortune, and today I'm going to read you a book about an ordinary person who changed the world. The title of the book is I Am Lucille Ball, written by Brad Meltzer and illustrated by Christopher Eliopoulos. I am a very curious person, and I enjoy learning about the world, its animals, different cultures, technology, and ordinary people like you and me who have done some pretty awesome things. I chose this book because, like so many people, I think Lucille Ball was an extraordinary person who dared to dream big. What's an extraordinary person? Let's read the story about Lucille Ball and see if we can figure it out. Lucille Ball always loved to laugh. When she was a kid, some people thought it was not proper for a girl to be funny. But Lucy was a born comedian, and she always did what came naturally. From the first time she stood on stage, she knew she wanted to be a performer for the rest of her life. And she never gave up on her dream. Because she could use humor to solve any problem, Lucy grew up to be one of Hollywood's biggest stars. I am Lucille Ball. When I was a little girl, my mother tried to dress me in ribbons and bows. But I was different from other girls. My idea of fun was horsing around with my dad. He used to throw me up in the ceiling, always catching me and making me laugh. "Put her down, right now!" That's not a game for a proper girl. I don't think this one's a proper girl. Look, I'm a pelican. I lay eggs on your head. When I was 3 years old, the local grocer used to let me put on a show at his store. My favorite was his frog routine. Humph, humph. People thought I was brave for performing so young. It wasn't bravery. It was just doing what came naturally. That's not a proper girl. That's not even a proper frog. Customers paid me with pennies and candy, making these my first professional appearances. I had even more fun when my aunt used to let me work in her beauty salon. She'd let me do the hair of her customers' children. Little girl, what are you doing? What comes naturally? You're a porcupine, she said to the other little girl. Soon after, the beauty salon went out of business. But my childhood wasn't all goodness and games. When I was 7 years old, I went to live with Grandmother Peterson. She didn't like the way I played. In fact, she thought having fun was a bad thing. What are you doing? Playing. It's fun. Fun? Little girls aren't supposed to have fun. Not in this house. Instead, in her dark kitchen, she made me wash lots of dishes. Not good enough, do them again. But, Grandma, little girls don't argue. Again. She didn't even allow any mirrors in her house, except for the one in the bathroom. She thought they made you think too much of yourself. When I rode on trolley cars, I used to make silly faces at my reflection. Try it. You'll see so many possibilities. To Grandmother Peterson, little girls weren't supposed to be bold, sassy, or silly. As punishment, she'd send me to bed before sundown. I still remember lying there, hearing all the other kids playing outside. But no matter how tough those days were, I had one thing to get me through it: my sense of humor. On rainy days, I'd play on the back porch and make dolls out of clothespins. I gave them all personalities. You wouldn't believe the adventure we had. What's that, Sheriff? You need a cowgirl to come to the rescue with a mask and big blue eyes and a sparkling personality? It's your lucky day. I got the roughest, toughest one right here. Here I come. There really is something wrong with that girl, my grandmother said. My shows only got bigger. When I was 8, my mom moved us to a 3-bedroom house that was right by an amusement park. That's right, a real amusement park. I'd act out movies in our backyard. My friends and little brother were the co-stars. If they weren't there, I'd pretend the chicken coop was my castle. Our chickens would be my loyal army. Avast, ye lovers of land! 'Tis I, Peggy Leg Lucy. I've come for your treasure. First mate, chicken face. Second mate, chicken stink. Get your men ready. On 3, attack! Whack! Is she talking to those chickens? The crazy part is, I think they're listening. By the time I was 12, I realized there was real power in making people laugh. The principal of my school, a man named Bernard Drake, realized it too. He was the very first person to label my wild and fun behavior as talent. That's what you have, Lucy. Work hard at it. When you do, people will pay attention. I took his advice. The next year, a friend and I put on our first amateur production, a play called Charlie's Aunt. It was the very first time I felt that wonderful feeling that comes from getting laughs on a real stage. How much did I love it? To have that starring role, I sold the tickets, swept up after, and even turned out the lights. No matter what your dream is, if you want it, you have to work for it. So that's what I did. Was I a bit too enthusiastic? Sometimes. When I was 15, during one musical, I did a dance with so much excitement, I fell into the orchestra pit and dislocated my arm. I think something's in my tuba. That's my head. By the way, your breath smells like gorilla burps. When I was 17, my mom sent me to a fancy acting school in New York City. It didn't go as planned. Speak clearly, say water and horses. Water and horses. I said water and horses. That's what I said. Water and horses. How Midwestern. We have to change that. Can't you be a proper girl like your fellow student, Betty Davis? The teachers made fun of how I spoke. They said I had no talent, that I couldn't sing and I couldn't dance. All the other girls laughed at me. They were tall and beautiful. I was funny and different. Of the 70 students accepted to the school, they narrowed it down to 12. I didn't make it. I failed. Sorry, kid. You're not what we're looking for. From there, I tried being a dancer. Sorry, kid. You're not what we're looking for. But nothing much changed. Sorry, kid. You're not what we're looking for. I never let it stop me. At one point, I was so poor, I was down to my last 4 cents. That's it, 4 pennies. To eat, I'd wait for a customer to leave a restaurant. Then I'd grab their leftover food before it got thrown away. I went to so many tryouts, I even wore out my shoes. What are you doing? Stuffing newspapers in the holes. I need to keep going. But no matter how hard I tried, the message never seemed to change. You're a nice kid, but you just don't have it. Why don't you go home and raise a big family? Eventually, I did find work, and then, with a bit of luck, I finally got my first big break in the movies. I was 21 years old and selected to be one of the girls in the background of the movie Roman Scandals. As the director came to inspect us all, I grabbed some red crepe paper, tore it into shreds, licked it, and here he comes. Lucy, what are you doing? Just what comes naturally. Ta-da! She had crepe paper all over her face, little bits everywhere. You're funny, kid. What's your name? Lucille Ball. I stood out from the crowd that day. From there, I got my first on-screen acting credit in a short football comedy starring the Three Stooges. Hey guys, what are you? Most girls didn't want those slapstick parts. I loved them, and I knew how to make them even funnier. Yuck, yuck, yuck. This girl's funny. Splat. If you flinch when the pie hits you, the audience doesn't laugh as hard. I never flinched. It goes back to those days when my dad threw me in the air. I knew he was going to catch me. I knew I'd be safe. In time, that confidence led to the one role that changed my life. I had left movies and was working in radio. Then CBS had a brand new idea for a TV show. It'll be a comedy about this wacky redhead and her husband. Great! I'll star in it with Desi Arnaz, my real Cuban musician husband. Lucille will never work. Babaloo, said Desi Arnaz. There's no way the American people will watch that kind of couple. To prove them wrong, my husband Desi and I took our show on the road. We turned it into a vaudeville act. Vaudeville was an old kind of show with lots of funny skits. They call me Sally Sweet. I'm the queen of Delancey Street. When I start to dance, everything goes chick, chicky, boom, chick, chicky, boom, chick, chicky, boom. That is not a proper girl. Isn't it great? It became such a big hit, CBS decided it was ready for TV. We asked for one thing, to film the show in front of a live audience. Hearing that audience, people at home would really feel the laughter. The TV network was worried about the costs of the film. They said it would be too expensive, so we made a deal. They could pay us less money, but the show would belong to us. Places, everyone! On September 8th, 1951, the bleachers filled up by 8 p.m. I Love Lucy was ready to go, and there was nothing proper about it. Every episode, Lucy and Ricky, along with their best friends, Ethel and Fred, would get into crazy adventures. One of them was an assembly line with candy. If one piece of candy gets past you into the packing room unwrapped, you're fired. This isn't so bad. Gah! It's getting too fast. Ack! Gulp! Gulp! Here she comes. Every week, America tuned in to see what Lucy was up to. They wanted to see what new trouble I'd get into. Yes, buy Vita, Mita, Vegemin. Get a great big bottle of Mita, Mina, Mega Win. Mita, Vata, Meaty, Map. And they wanted to see who else would show up. We had famous guest stars like Harpo Marx and Superman. That's right, Superman. Between 1952 and 1953, though the first TV bosses said no one would be interested, 2 out of 3 households with TV sets were watching I Love Lucy on Monday nights. What was the secret of the show's success? It was the thing I'd learned all those years ago. You can always find a laugh in what everyone else is taking so seriously. Today, people call me the greatest comedienne of my time and one of the most beloved entertainers ever. But I was also the first woman to run a major Hollywood studio. Did you know she was nominated for an Emmy Award 13 times and won 4 times? And that she has 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. She even had her own postage stamp. I just like that people still dress as her for Halloween. Remember when I said the TV show belonged to us? Our studio, Desilu, used the money from I Love Lucy to produce other shows like Star Trek and Mission Impossible. In life, people put me down because I was different from everyone else. They didn't like the way I looked, or the way I talked, or even the way I was always clowning around. This isn't a joke. Don't let other people change you. There's no such thing as a proper girl, or boy, or anybody. Be true to who you are. Go look in the mirror. When someone puts you down, that's who'll pick you back up. When you get sad, that's who'll help you laugh it off. To find happiness in life, you have to do what you do best. Trust me on this every time you look in that mirror. Your possibilities will be endless. Lucille Ball has her own museum. Yep, she even got the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian award in the United States. Look, I'm doing what comes naturally. I'm wearing your stamps. Man with all his stamps all over his head, all over his face. You got moxie, kid. Don't be afraid to stand out. Do I got moxie too? No, you got stamps on your head. You look like a flower. I am Lucille Ball. I believe that humor can take on anything. We all need laughter, every single one of us. And for the best comedy, people have to believe in you. But for that to happen, you have to believe in yourself. I Love Lucy wasn't just the title of the show. It was my most important life lesson. In this world, the person you need to love most is you. Love yourself first, and everything falls into line. Lucille Ball. Wow, what a great book about an ordinary person who changed the world. Lucille Ball. It has been my pleasure to share this book about Lucille Ball and her amazing story with you today. I hope to see you again on Lunenburg Storytime. Thanks for watching.
Hi, my name is John Fortune, and today I'm going to read you a book about a famous person who came from a humble background. He once wrote a speech that started with 77 years ago. Still don't know? How about the 16th President of the United States? You know, the one on the penny? That's right, Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln came from a humble background. Did you know he only spent 1 year in school? He taught himself to read and write. When he grew up, he went on to law school and became a representative, senator, and eventually President of the United States. He was president during the Civil War, a very difficult time in American history. He is known for standing up for all people and treating them fairly and equally. This book is from the Ordinary People Who Changed the World series. Its title is I Am Abraham Lincoln. And it's written by Brad Meltzer and illustrated by Christopher Iliopoulos. Let's read the book and hear more about Abraham Lincoln. I am Abraham Lincoln. When I was little, even young boys were expected to work on the farm and hunt animals for food. Hey Abe, are you coming? I'll catch up with you later. I preferred to read. I also loved animals. When I was 10 years old, I saw a group of boys playing with some turtles. They found turtles? I love turtles. Look, it's making the turtles run faster. It's the fastest turtle ever. But as I got closer, I realized they weren't playing. They were taking hot coals and putting them on top of the turtles to see what would happen. To them, it was harmless fun. In that moment, I could have just walked away. When you're 10 years old, it's hard to do the right thing, but someone has to. Let this turtle go. What did you say? You heard me. Let it go. Those boys let the turtle go. Soon after, I wrote one of my first essays about how hurting animals was wrong. That might not seem like a big deal, but back then, most kids, and even adults, didn't know how to write. In fact, the state of Indiana was so new, schools weren't even built yet. I went to school for barely a year, total. That didn't stop me. Using chalk, I practiced writing alphabet on the trees. I even wrote in the dirt in the cornfield. Abe, how's the corn coming? Great, Dad. When it came to learning, my best teachers were simple. Books. I loved books so much. I once walked 6 miles. I'm serious, 6 miles to get one. 6 miles? That's too far for a book. Not for this one. I read while my horse was resting and while waiting in line at the local store, and in one of my favorite positions, with my feet up on a tree. Before long, I had read every book in the neighborhood, from the Bible to Aesop's Fables to Robinson Crusoe, but one of my favorites, a book about George Washington. I'd even copy my favorite parts on pieces of wood. Did you know that George Washington was a friend of men? You're a strange boy, Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, but I'm going to be on the penny someday. What's a penny? When I was 22 years old, we moved to Illinois, where I met a group known as Clary's Grove Boys. You think you're better than us? I never said that. Don't be chicken. Show us what you got. Everyone in town knew they were bullies. I didn't like bullies. But I was the new guy. When they challenged me, I didn't have a lot of choice. Today, some may call it a fight, but it was really a wrestling match. Me against their leader, Jack Armstrong. Back then, the rule was, once you grabbed your opponent, you couldn't break your hold. Wham! But Jack did, so he could grab my leg and send me flying. I wasn't mad I lost. Everyone loses sometimes. What got me upset? He had cheated. You didn't play fair. Maybe you want to fight all of us. Within seconds, they all surrounded me. They were waiting for me to back down or to lose my cool. Instead, calmly and confidently, I told them, if I have to, I will fight. Every single one of you. Fair and square. They knew I meant it. You're a strange kid, Abraham Lincoln, but you've got guts. You know, I'm going to be on the penny. What's a penny? Sometimes the hardest fight don't reveal a winner, but they do reveal character. Especially when you're fighting for something you believe in. Still, not every struggle brought a victory. Years later, I saw a group of slaves chained together in a boat on the Ohio River. Back then, not all people were free. Some were slaves. Just because of the color of their skin, they were forced to work without pay. They were treated terribly. I never forgot that sight in that boat. I didn't do anything that day, but for years, the memory of those people, it haunted me. I was still thinking about them when I became president. I had lost 4 elections, but I got the big job. 4. America was facing one of the greatest fights in our history, the Civil War. One side wanted to let the slaves go free, and the other side, we want to keep slavery going, and we'll fight anyone who says otherwise. If I had turned my head and looked away, I would have avoided a fight. But if I had learned anything in life, it was this. When somebody needed help, I wasn't so good at looking away. I'm sorry. I cannot allow that. What'd you just say? You heard me. These people will be free. The Civil War lasted longer than anyone thought. The fighting took a terrible toll. People on our side were ready to give up. To re-energize them, we held a big event in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. The main speaker gave a speech that lasted nearly 2 hours. I gave a speech that lasted 2 minutes and used only 271 words. The most important 5 words I used: all men are created equal. Soon after, I helped pass the law that ended slavery in America and freed all those people. Then we ended the Civil War. As a result, we didn't just bring together these United States of America, we proved that this government of the people, by the people, and for the people would be dedicated to freedom and justice. You know, in his speech, he told the crowd that no one would remember what he said at Gettysburg. Want to bet? In life, strength can take many forms, but there's nothing quite as strong as standing up for someone who needs it. No matter where you're from or how little you have, one thing that can never be taken away from you is your voice. When you find something you believe in, use your voice. And when you see injustice, speak louder than you've ever spoken before. When you do, it'll never be forgotten. Look, he's on the penny. I am Abraham Lincoln. I will never stop fighting for what's right. And I hope you remember that when you speak your mind and speak for others, there's no more powerful way to be heard. Abraham Lincoln lived from 1809 to 1865, a very difficult time in American history. But he was known for helping people in the Congress, in the Senate, and as President of the United States. Using only his voice, he helped folks understand that all people are created equal, and we should all do what we can to make sure everyone is treated as an individual and treated fairly. We can all learn from Abraham Lincoln and treat others, our family, friends, and our community, with dignity and respect, just like he did. I'm John Fortune, and I want to thank you for watching me on Lunenburg Storytime. See you next time.